Hello second year students, and welcome to your professional practice and teaching practice 2 semester 2 2020 lesson and task. My name is Asif Kafoor and I will be your part-time lecturer for this subject for 2020. Okay, let's get started with our lesson and objective. So the focus area and mission for our section of the work for semester 2 is presentation. Now you already have a component of this subject area, which is computer literacy, so it is nothing to do with PowerPoint. Our lesson is looking at 3 parts of presenting. The first part is presenting yourself, your personal appearance, presenting your environment, your teaching environment, and then finally presenting your lesson. Now, presenting yourself during your observations in year 1, you would have picked up the differences, of course, between how students dress, how teachers dress, how principal or the CEO of the school dresses, and you would pick up that you would perceive them in a different way. Now, the beauty of where you are at and what you are studying is that you are sitting on the fence, meaning that you can see things from your side as a student and also from the teacher side, and you as a prospective and future teacher. Now, here are just a few examples of male-female dress do's and don'ts. Now, I'm not putting the do's and the don'ts here, you would notice that, because what's right to you may be wrong to me, and what's wrong to you may be right to me. But remember, you are entering the profession of teaching. So there is a minimum standard of acceptable attire and dress code. So for example, females, your blouse should not reveal your cleavage, right? Or your skirt should not be short enough to be a crazy distraction to your students or your colleagues. Remember that as much as your dress code is an expression of who you are in a professional environment and you need to dress accordingly. Okay, unless you are working at a specialized school of arts, so fashion, a school for fashion, there you would dress obviously differently. A school for art or photography, you would dress differently. But for the normal mainstream school, there is a minimum standard of presentation. And similarly with the gents, you would notice the pictures at the bottom of the slide where you have your 4 cartoon characters which are dressed differently, and they represent and give off a different perception of who the teacher is without you saying anything. Non-verbal speaks volumes, and your clothes are part of your non-verbal, as opposed to the images in the middle where you see a pair of sneakers, a hoodie, jeans, a satchel. If I look at that, for example, I'm thinking of a substitute teacher, somebody that's just going to come in, do a quick intro, leave again, somebody that's getting ready for the holidays. And then this type of representation is what you would find from your students and how they would approach you as well. All right? So your presentation is your power. Your presentation sets the tone. Your presentation, your personal appearance, sets the impression and expression of your students. So if you come in jeans, guess how your students are going to respond to you? And you cannot have any, how can I put this? You cannot be offended in any way, because that is the representation that you're bringing across, right? And you can't come in there also stiff neck with a tie on and expect an authoritative position and only you are going to speak and nobody else is going to speak. So you have to interact your verbal with non-verbal. You have to find a good balance. But starting off with a non-verbal impression of yourself in terms of your dress code is always a good way to position your power. Your presentation is indicative of your teaching style and your personality. So if you are a casual, laid-back type of person, you don't want to necessarily represent that in your class in terms of your dress code. You may represent it in the way you are lenient with students, listening to them, but also keeping a firm hand over the outcomes that you need from them. So your learning environment is not your runway, like I said, unless you're working for a specialized school of arts. Your presentation of self informs your level of authority, and you can reflect on many other things that your personal appearance brings across as a teacher. The second part would be presenting your environment. Now, from these pictures you can already assume what I'm referring to, and not always are we in control of our environment, because we are at schools where we share environments, but I'm talking about your immediate environment. What you want to show in your immediate space to your class and to yourself, and even your little working space where you are capturing marks or setting up assessments, for example. If you look at this simple illustration at the bottom, these are simple tools that help you create an organized environment. So instead of having your stationery just laying around, you would have it neatly in a pencil bag or a stationery holder. Instead of having your books just laying around, you would have a document holder. Instead of your work that is coming in, going out, just laying around all over the desk, you would have an in tray, an out tray, a pending tray of tasks that are still needing to be done. This type of visual perception creates also an organized environment for the students. Now, I'm not trying to say that you need to go and purchase all these things and now go and create this crazy OCD persona and keep your workspace entirely spotless and clean. There are moments in a school curriculum and a school year that your place is going to look crazy, right? But in the general sense of who you are and how you represent yourself, your environment plays a big part. So these two images at the top, before and after, there's nothing different. It is just organized. So there's no coffee or eatables laying around on the desk that does not need to be there. It's not always advisable to eat at your desk or in the classroom, and some schools you cannot eat in your classroom or at your desk, right? And then books are just neatly stacked up instead of just laying around, and papers are put in a neat, organized manner. So your environment is your sanctuary, right? So the way your environment, now I know a lot of people will say, but this is organized chaos. But remember, you are a teacher, so you have to lead by example. Your environment is indicative of your current state of mind and readiness. So imagine a person that has everything organized. They will know exactly this comes now, this comes next, this comes later. As opposed to somebody that has all their notes just laying on the desk, different boxes, not even color-coded or chronologically put in order or color-coded or anything like that. You're not going to know your head from your tail. Your environment is your example. So if you want your kids to be organized, guess what? You too need to be organized in your environment and how you present it. Your environment is an extension of you. So again, if you're a laid-back type of person in your personal life, that's your personal prerogative. But in the classroom, it's not only you that you are representing, it's also the institution that you are representing and their mission and vision. Your environment is your domain. It's your home advantage. It's your playground. So you need to work it in order to achieve the results that you want. Your environment must suit the lesson and the outcome. So for example, your environment, the way the desks are set up, would be very different for an assessment as opposed to an interactive breakaway discussion session where kids need to move around and interact with each other. So you need to create your environment accordingly. And then you can think of further reflective thoughts in terms of what your environment is and what the representation of it is and how you present it. Then the last part of presenting or presentation is presenting your lesson. Now, we take it for granted that because we live in a world of technology, that there would be a data projector and there's a computer in the classroom. But what if there isn't? Or what if there is and there's a power failure, right? Or it doesn't work, or your flash drive is at home. You need to be sharp. You need to think on your toes in terms of providing different resources that can also help you achieve the outcome. So you try and find resources that are recyclable. What I mean by that is, for example, you will see that I have a picture of player tokens and a dice. So these are generic type of resources that you can use to present your lesson. You can change up the lesson outcome, but the method in which the students learn can be the same. So they're playing a game, alright? And the way you represent or present your lesson can become triggers. So when kids see the dice coming out, they know, okay, they're going to be playing a game to be learning a lesson. If you look at this picture of the teacher sitting on the ground, I know you are in senior phase, but each kid, does not matter what age, wants to be entertained, right? The attention span is short, and anything that you bring out that tickles their interest will capture them to your lesson, right? So you need to use, and again, this is how you're presenting your environment. So look, no desks, they are all seated on the floor, and in a amphitheater setup, and the teacher is in the middle with whatever, but it's large enough for all the students to see. What you would do in a bigger classroom, for example, in presenting a lesson like this, would be to break them up into different groups and get a leader in each group, and then specifically show the leaders how to play the game, and then provide each group and each leader with the same type of lesson activity, so that they can play and learn, and you just walk around and supervise once you have explained how to do it. So there's various ways in how to present your lesson, not only the boring chalk and talk. So standing by the board and talking, or just pointing to a PowerPoint presentation that you've created and you're just talking. That numbs and bores the heck out of students. You want to create this fresh way of presenting and using different resources and material. Your lesson is your strategy and plan. Your lesson is managed and it's flexible, right? So don't think that it must stick to every section that you have planned out. Your classroom can change in an instant, right? And you need to be flexible to go with it. Your lesson is prepared and rehearsed. Your lesson is more mental than physical. If you have your lesson planned out mentally, and you can plan for contingency plans, if this happens, if that happens, this is what I'll do, and you have that mentally prepped, your physical representation of that idea is much easier. Your lesson is your responsibility. Your lesson is also directed and dictated by your students, right? So you can have this wonderfully planned lesson, but remember that's based on a perception that all the students are listening and they get what you're saying. But now on the day you have a student that disrupts your class, does not know what you're talking about, needs you to repeat the section over and over, and that was not part of your plan. So you need to be again flexible and know how to deal with it. Okay? Then your lesson is your ingredients. The way you present it is your method, but your students' response is the feedback in terms of was this good or wasn't it good. And then you can think of any other further representations of what your lesson is. Okay, so reflect on these few things for a minute. You're late for class, you have a few minutes to go, you're stuck in traffic and your class is waiting. How do you think this can happen, right? And how could you have addressed it, and how could you have prepared for it? Secondly, you planned a great PowerPoint presentation. You're ready to go, you are early at work. Power failure, or you forgot your flash drive. How would you handle this? How could you have prevented it or prepared for the unexpected? And then thirdly, you have an early class tomorrow. You have a lesson with props and materials and you all excited. You set up the classroom, it's all clean and organized. The day has come, you early at work, you're ready, and the principal says they need your classroom. Now you must find a different venue. How are you able to handle this? How could you have prepared for the unexpected? So you have an idea of how you can present something, but mentally you need to have a strategy and a contingency plan in case of a curveball. Why am I giving you these reflections? We are all amazing when we are prepared and things run smoothly and the sun is shining and we had our cup of coffee or green tea. But We are really tested as teachers and professionals when there is an unexpected or unanticipated curveball and when things don't go as planned. Who are you under pressure? In the moment, how prepared are you mentally and resourcefully? You are the digital age teacher. You are the forefront of educational reform. So show us what you got. Right. Now this lesson is tying up two different components of your subject, which is professional practice, the theoretical component, and the teaching practice, practical. Because of COVID-19 and coronavirus, unfortunately plans were derailed for you to go out for teaching prac. Right, so we're going to try and accommodate you in terms of your task that we have prepared for you and tie the two strings together. So, your task and instruction. I know it looks a lot, but bear with me. You have three parts. Part A. There are 3 videos I'm going to send you, and you have to watch the videos, and the one is on presenting yourself, your environment, and your lesson. You have to respond to the videos in terms of providing factual observation. So what did you observe in the video? Then you have to provide any feedback or response that you have and what you think about that topic of presenting yourself, your lesson, and your environment. And at the end, any reflective suggestions. So how would you do things differently? You as the teacher, personally, what would you do differently? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? I want to hear your views, right? And don't be scared. It's your honest opinion. Then part B1, you have to download your subject specialization document known as the CAPS document. Now I'm going to skip to the next slide quickly and I'm going to come back here now. You are in senior phase, right? Now senior phase in terms of normal schools, and when I say normal schools, think of uniform school bell going at 8. That's a normal school. Senior phase is your grade 7 to 9. And in the same breath they have what's called FET, Further Education and Training, and that's grade 10, 11 and 12. As opposed to another institution known as TVET, Technical Vocational Education and Training. Now these are the colleges, right? The ones that don't have uniforms, that don't have the school bell ringing at 8 o'clock and so forth. They also have they have pre-matric and post-matric, which is grades 10, 11 and 12, known as level 2, 3 and 4. Some of you are familiar with that because you are teaching at colleges. For those who are not teaching at colleges, this is post-school education, which takes on different students, different ages, different backgrounds, but provided you pass grade 9. Now at the normal schools you get what's known as NSC, National Senior Certificate, Matric. At the TVET college they call it NCV, National Certificate Vocational, right? And then at TVET also you get your post-matric. So once you're done with NCV, you can go to Report 1 and 1. Now, what would you be using? You will be using a document known as CAPS. CAPS stands for Curriculum and Assessment Policy Statement. These are used at the normal schools, right? Guidelines, subject guidelines and assessment guidelines, those are used at TVET colleges, and syllabuses are used at TVET colleges. So we're going to focus on the CAPS document. Now, this link over here, which I will provide to your class reps, which will provide it to you in your groups, is the link where you find all the CAPS documents for all the subjects. Each CAPS document contains grade 11, 10, 11 and 12. Term 1, 2, 3 and 4. So it's a comprehensive document that gives everything for the subject for grades 10, 11 and 12. So your area of subject specialization is different, right? Some of you have maths, some has geography, some has English, some has Afrikaans. So whatever your subject is, you I think have 2. So you get to choose which subject you like and get that CAPS document. Why must you get it? Because for your task you need to get your CAPS document and select an area for grade 11 and term 4. I'll show you an example. But you have to get your CAPS document for one of your subjects which you are registered for grade 11 and term 4. Then you need to complete the lesson plan template, and I'll provide that to you as well, right, in the task document. So you will take that lesson and work it into the lesson plan template which I provided, which is broken up into sections and explained to you. And when I receive your assignments, I will randomly check any student just to make sure that the subject or the CAPS document that you are presenting is aligned to the actual subject specialization that you are registered for. Okay, so just be sure to get the right document. If you are unsure, please contact me. Then part B2 is called Picks and Vids. So you have to now take your lesson that you created in B1 and make a 5-minute video briefly presenting your lesson. Now this is known as a micro lesson. Okay, so you don't want to create this lengthy online lessons, and online lessons are here to stay, right? So let's get prepared for it. So you have to create a 5-minute online lesson with you and your lesson, and you need to take into consideration and highlight the presentation areas that we reflected on, which is yourself, your environment, and your lesson. The main part of your video is how you are executing your lesson using your resources, right? So be creative. We can't always rely on PowerPoint and projector, and remote learning is here to stay, and online learning. Your video must not exceed 5 minutes. So plan, rehearse, practice, and then start recording. Submit your video along with 3 pictures, right? So I need your video and 3 pictures. The first picture is a full-length shot of you and your professional attire. Then the second picture would be your remote classroom. So wherever you are setting up your classroom, I need to see a picture of that, right? And get in as much as possible, your organized desk and whatever else you have going forward. Then the third picture would be your lesson resources. Whatever you use during your lesson demonstration, I need to see that in a picture. Please make sure that your pictures are not filtered. You take them in a clear, natural light and take them with a steady hand. Please send the best one through in your task document. So that is your task in a nutshell. We've already looked at this. Right, here's an example. So I took geography as a subject, and I downloaded the CAPS document and I extracted the grade 11 and term 4 section. So this over here shows the terms, term 1, term 2, term 3, term 4. Term 4, they are looking at resources and sustainability, soil and energy. Now further down in the document, they explain the areas that you have to teach. So I chose conventional energy sources and their impact on the environment. So for example, for a lesson like this, I will set it up in the following way. I have a short video showing how the earth is being destructed and caused by global warming and pollution, right? Energy sources. Then I'll introduce my lesson by asking the students, so what did you think of the video? I'll start posing questions, trying to get ideas of what they think. Then I'll start introducing the lesson for today, or part of the lesson, known as a micro lesson. So for example, you see here it says conventional energy sources and their impact on the environment. So for my mini lesson, I'm only going to focus on the first part, which is conventional energy sources. The impact, I will focus on a different lesson. So you break it up. Please remember, you only have 5 minutes. You can't cram a lot into 5 minutes. So rather reduce the amount of work but make it relevant. Then you will check by students what examples do they know at home or in school of energy sources. So light bulbs, the printer, the heater, the microwave, the electric blanket. So those are examples. Then you can show pictures or flashcards or drawings, but you show them half picture and let students start guessing what it is. And if they get it right, hip hip hooray, now you start discussing that. So you take a light bulb picture, show half of it, they guess, oh, it's a light bulb. Okay, so what are light bulbs used for? How does it work? Energy savers versus the normal. So discussion. Then you provide a group activity or an individual activity so that they can start expressing their knowledge of what they've just learned. Then you regroup, get everybody together again and just start concept checking. Now concept checking is when you start asking questions. So what is today's lesson? So what is conventional energy? Where do we get the energy from? So you're just checking again if students are paying attention and if they understand what you are talking about. Then lastly, you provide them with a worksheet for homework and reflection. And after this, you can tell them there will be a test at so and so a day where you're only focusing on the one, or you're going to cover all these lessons and give one test or assessment at the end, right? So this is just a very simple example of how I extracted from geography, grade 11, term 4. This is the marking guideline. So with regard to your marks, I'm looking at your video reviews, 5 marks per video. Your CAPS document that you downloaded and extracted, grade 11, term 4. The research that you actually put into the lesson that you have extracted, the lesson plan document that I'm going to supply you with, you have to just complete it under the various headings. Then 20 marks for your micro lesson, and then 3 marks, 1 per picture for the 3 pictures, and then overall your presentation layout, your professionalism of your assignment submission. So please make sure that you follow this criteria in order to submit quality work. This is a proposed plan of action. Use it, don't use it, right? But the 30th of October is your submission date, so you have literally a full month. For this week, familiarize yourself with the topics, how to present yourself, how to present your environment, how to present your lesson. Talk with your friends, get some ideas. Then download your CAPS document from the link that I'm providing you, and then check for your subject and get to the grade 11 term 4 section. Then next week, familiarize yourself with the marking guideline and your CAPS lesson that you want to present, right? Your choice. Then prepare your submission document, so complete your task document, which I will provide you with, and then start preparing your lesson areas. Start setting up a space in your house, in your room, wherever it is that's quiet for that 5 minutes you're going to present your lesson. You have enough time. Have fun with it, right? Don't make it so serious, stiff. Have fun with it, but be professional and be creative. Then in the 3rd week, you can ask any questions, queries, clarify anything you need, provide any comments. Do you like this? Do you not like this? And then we can sort out any of those issues that you have. And then start working on your draft. Do your video reflections. Start watching the videos that I will provide you with, and then start making draft notes. And then you can formulate it at the later stage. Work on your lesson plan draft, and then do video rehearsals. Rehearse. It took me a long time before I started doing videos and voice recordings of my videos, but have fun with it, and the quicker you start, the better you become. And then also play back your video, right? And the reason why I'm saying that is my videos I'm creating, I have a headset, what you call it, these call center headsets that has the earphones and the mouthpiece. So depending on the room that you are in, it might echo when you play it back. So do a sample, do a lesson, hear how you speak. Do you need to go close to the computer, far away? Do you have a mic? How loud must you speak in the mic? Test it out first. Please do not give me a submission where you sound like you are on a different planet and I cannot hear you, or you are right in my face and you are shouting in my ears. Your marks will be deducted from that. So please make sure that you know the sound, right? Close the door if you have to. Then in your 4th week, work on your final task documents and your reflections, your pictures and your videos. And then on the 30th of October, you need to submit. Okay? Please remember, if the 30th of October, if you know there's something happening on that day that you are not able to handle your submission of tasks, please get in contact with me as soon as possible. But remember, whatever reason you're giving me, I'm going to ask you for proof. So please make sure that you provide me with valid reasons. Okay. Right, so thank you for your time and attention now for this presentation. I look forward to receiving your queries, your assignments, and any feedback that you have. And remember, work on a solution before you come up with a problem or any excuse. So with that, have an awesome day.